This is Mike Wowczuk from Ironhead Studios, and we're going to show you how to paint this bad boy today. But before we get into that, just like to give a couple shout outs. One, to my friend and owner of Ironhead Studios, Jose Fernandez, for allowing me to use this for this paint demo. Another small one to Stephanie, who took the time out of her busy day to wrap this guy up and get it out here in one piece. And Craig Kennedy for thinking I could actually do this. Now, it's Mike Wowczuk. I'm here at Createx Paints. Today we're going to be painting this scarab beetle. This is a helmet, an unused helmet from X-Men Age of Apocalypse. This was supposed to be the helmet for Apocalypse, but it ended up not being used, changed to something else. So thanks to Jose, I've been given the opportunity to paint this thing up and see what we can make happen. So I'm first going to start out with the gold and set up a basic pattern, but I tend to jump around a lot, but I like to frame everything out with the gold and then just play it by ear and see what comes out of it, because I'm still not really sure exactly what I want to do, but I have an idea. So just going to start and we're going to see what happens. So right now I'm just going to freehand most of this because I'm trying to save time on not having to do a lot of masking, and the Createx candies are very forgiving. Okay, when I spray the gold, right now I'm going back in because I wanted to avoid masking and spending half of this job tape, but with the, is it the 4011 reducer, it doesn't affect the chrome, but it will take off the candy. So I want to keep the inside panels clean for my next color. So I'm just going to go in and I'm going to take the bulk of it off that gets on the inside. What I leave behind will be slow slide that it won't matter, or I'll use that to blend colors with. And this thing is supposed to be, you know, from the dawn of time. So I don't try to make the gold perfectly even, because even the sculpture's a little bit rough. It's supposed to show age, and you know, it's pretty much an ancient times thing. So try and replicate that in the paint job, because they're just, you know, if it's perfectly smooth, then I'm going to make it look like a machine painted it. But because it's not, I want to use some of those imperfections and those marks as part of the charm of the actual finished piece. Because God, just most of my ideas come from nature. I like, no matter how unreal whatever it is I work on is, I like it to look like it could have been real. This could have existed. I don't want it to just look like something, well, who's going to believe that? This front part we did all freehand, because masking in here, it's a lot of X-Acto cutting, a lot of time consuming, and freehand, it's going to give me the look that I want. This is going to be a weathered piece, so I'm going to come in on the edges no matter what I use. But this is going to be a big time-consuming thing. Whereas the back, these are big, smooth panels, so I'm going to save time by just doing it this way by using the tape. Okay, I'm going to just continue this, come up to here. And you know what, I just, when I'm doing a blend like that, because I stopped here, I just come in really lightly with my first coat so I don't create a harsh line where the two colors come together. And then I'll come back. My main focus is going to be just this side. and then I'll do my blending over the top. But yeah, that's just about right, because the second round you see the gold, and I don't want it all super strong, but and that's the beauty of this stuff, is if I should do something I don't like, the second the camera stops, I'll redo it so it looks like I was happy with it the whole time. So there, that's pretty good there. So now I'm going to start bringing these in. Well, we just hopefully finished painting the last of the gold, maybe. So I'm going to go in, as I did on this side, and clean out the excess from the chrome, because there's going to be a different color going in there. And we basically clean this out, so if I shoot blue, it's going to be a crisp, clean blue, and it's not going to turn green because I've got more or less yellow underneath it. So that's the beauty of the candies, is if I shot this with solvent-based paints, there's no doing this. I would have to mask it and go the full route. But like this, I can do this in a quarter of the time it would take me to paint it, and I'll get the effect I want, and we'll roll from there. Starting with a new Q-tip, just to go in and clean off that final layer. Because if you just use one Q-tip, all you do is move the paint around. So you end up with the chrome not looking quite chrome, and also looking dirty. So constantly you got to change the Q-tips once you've used up every side. Okay, so maybe it's not the right time to do this, but I got to see what it looks like underneath this tape to see what I'm going to do next. So we're just going to slowly peel back the tape. And if all goes well, all we'll do is peel off the tape and not the paint underneath. So now we got the gold and the chrome. Okay, so now we're going to go in, and after we took all our time and masked this off to make this look all perfect and nice, now we're going to mess it up so it looks like it's all aged and not quite as nice as it was. But I think the overall look we're going for, when this is done, it's really gonna add some life or take some life away, however you decide to look at it, but just think it's gonna be good. Now right here, I've pulled off pretty much all of the gold to get down, because these sharp edges are what wears down. But I don't want it to look like it's all the way down and there's a base metal underneath. So I'm going to come back in with some straight, actually, you know what, Tequila yellow, and just hit over that again so we have slight variations in the gold. So now if you can catch that in the camera, but you can see that edge is rubbed, but now it's just a lighter color of gold, like it had thinned in those spots, but it hasn't worn completely through. And we've got that going on in a few other spots just to add some more variation. Okay, we're finally down to the last few bits of masking, and then we can move on to the next color. Okay, we're going to start with this first color, and hopefully things will work out good. I guess we're just going to pick a spot and start. I'm going to hold this shield up just so I don't get any overspray on the front, because I don't like wasting time going back over things just because I got sloppy. So we'll catch the fronts pretty tight, and then we can just fog in the rest of it. That's the beauty of these candies, is unlike the solvent-based ones where it's really hard to keep it even and on the way,
That's just a whole different ball game. That's why I do love these paints. We'll probably be adding several different colors of blue onto this. And then might even do some similar weathering to what we did on the gold. I just have to see what it starts to look like. Here, in case you're wondering, well, God, why isn't he shielding this part? It's getting overspray, because we're going to paint that a different color. Probably not going to be a candy color, so I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, so now we've got the color laid down, but generally I like all my candies to be smooth and neat, but this is supposed to be an ancient relic. And so we're gonna just do a lot of modeling. I like to use just a rubber glove for my stamping, but I'm liking this basic color, but I wanna just add, it's gonna be not a super dark stamping, and we're gonna put it on in the places where I want it to rub through. I'm gonna put it on a little heavy. I'm gonna move on to the next one. And while that has a chance to soak into that, it softens up that first layer so I can get some down to that metal so it looks like it's worn through. So at the end, we don't have to go back and pull it out. I'm just hoping to get this part done so we can move up into the front and the rest, and then the weathering later on, which I feel is going to take the bulk of the time. Trying to do a combination of legitimate age and making it look old and beat down. Okay, so now I'm finished with the marine blue stamping, and I've let it sit on some parts a little longer, and then when you stamp, it pulls more off, so you go down to the metal. So I just want to give you guys a look at what it looks like before I apply the last stamping color. So there's a little turnaround. I don't know how well this will show up, but that gives you an idea. Okay, so for my final stamp, I'm going to use the midnight blue. I've already done some. I'm just going to add, and this is going to be a lot more random and sparser than the other colors because I've mixed it a lot darker, a lot more pigments in there, but just enough. I like the purple effect, even though it says it's blue, it does have like a purplish hue to it. So that just adds, when it's in the light, a little bit. Okay, finally, we're gonna start peeling the tape off to see what we've got underneath. I've had pretty good luck with the tape and the candies holding down. So finally we get to see the final result, because it's really hard to tell what you've got when everything's stamped up. But so far I'm pretty happy with the look of it. So we've got the rest of the helmet that I don't want cleared, masked off. Now it's time to seal what we've done already. We're going to clear coat that before we do anything else. Our clear is now dried to the touch, which is the beauty of the HPC 21. So now, you know, when you don't know what you're going to do, you can sit and think about it for hours on end and do nothing, or you can just start painting and see where it takes you. And I had a pretty good idea that I want to go into some green, turn from the blue to green, from blue to teal to green, and then I'll add some yellows in. Pretty good with that for right now, but I think I'm gonna mix up some
Not my favorite tequila yellow, but I think I'm going to mix up a little bit of lemon yellow and come into these higher spots. Just so the color, I don't know of how it shows up on film, but you can see the blues, you can see the teals. I want there to be, when you look at it and you turn it, it kind of looks like a color change, but it's not, because the color change paints, you can't control where they change color. They just change depending on the angles. Where when you do this sort of paint job, I can put the color where I want, and when you turn it, it looks like it's changing color, but it really isn't. Paints are already in there, but that way you can control the look of it, and that's just, I like to have that control. Okay, right now I'm just building up the colors that I've already got going on there. Blue, emerald green, mixed with just a pinch of poison green, and just as it goes, and then I have the lemon yellow in the very middle, so as you turn it, it kind of looks like it's changing color, but it's really just the placement of the color to give it that illusion, but at least I have the color change where I want them. And I've got this little centerpiece, it's going to be a little bit bluer. I'll just keep coming in with some blue to kind of fog into that. And we'll probably just, a little bit. And then we'll switch off of the blue and come back in with the green. And that's really just a back and forth process, but I'd like to do a slow build, so when I'm done, because usually doing this, there's really no going back if you decide you want it lighter without taking it all down. And okay, we're going to come in right now with the yellow. We'll probably be coming back in with more green, but I don't want to have too much green before I put the yellow, because I want the yellow to just gives it that reflective look. Okay, right now we left off, I was doing the top of the bug head. Now I'm coming down into the legs, so I'm using the Tealiscous, some blue, and then I'm coming in with black, because most insects always have like a darker leg, so I want hints of that green showing through, but I also want to see some shadowing and whatnot. I just want some separation so you can see that it's actually a leg in there. It's supposed to be the continuation of the legs that are up here. So I like the candies for doing that. I'll probably come in with some opaques later, but I'll just start out building up the color with the candy. And the good thing is I'm not too worried about getting a little bit of overspray here, because I've already clear coated that, so it will just wipe right off. Okay, we're going to come in with a little sunset magenta into this area. I just want to try and add sometimes different is better. I want to have this like kind of a soft underbelly-ish sort of thing, not a hard exoskeleton. And I love doing a lot of bright, vibrant colors. Don't really get a chance to do a lot of that at work because we're doing armor and suits, so when I can, big fan of the Roth stuff because it's monstery, but it's also super colorful. And I think this works well with the blues. We'll probably come back in and hit an edging color of a purple, but I kind of like the way that just is completely different. Now, debating adding some of that into the nose area, but pretty happy with that. Okay, we're coming in with, I've mixed up a
slightly more purple. I use the sunset magenta. It's a rare thing for me to not mix a bunch of colors together, but I wanted something shockingly different from the rest, yet it still blends in. This has different patterns in it, and I just wanted it similar, but not quite the same. So I mixed the ultraviolet with the sunset magenta to get more of a purple to it. So now I'm just going to come in and paint this lower portion. Now I'm just going to go around the outer edge with just a little bit of the Caribe Blue just to make it a little more prominent and purple. Okay, so right now I'm going to come in with some Tequila yellow and just come around these edges and do a dark around the edges and get lighter and lighter. Probably leave some of the chrome in the center and then hit that with some lemon yellow before we're done. And then we'll pull the tape and see what color this is going to be in. Right now I'm thinking gold on both of these parts, but I want to see what it looks like once we get the Tequila yellow on this. Again, Tequila yellow, one of my favorites. I always end up mixing it with something else, but it's a really good starting point. Okay, we're coming in here to do this. I'm thinking it's the X for X-Men sort of blend. Who knows? It's a pretty old piece. But I'm just going to start with some Tequila yellow mixed with a pinch of Hugger orange. Or not Hugger orange, it's Grabber orange. Hugger orange was a Chevy color. So we're just going to put on a base of that color. And I'm going to come in with some dirt track brown into these lower areas, and then I'm probably just going to do a stamping over the top of that to give it more of an aged look. Okay, now I've hit my dirt track brown in these. I've got kind of an old color, but I think it should look a little older than that, so I'm going to come in and stamp that with the dirt track brown and a rubber glove, give it a little bit of a modeling to it. Okay, there's the dark blue, the darkest we're going to get. I'm going to clean off the gold and switch to some Tealiscous. In case you're wondering, I'm using the 4011 reducer to clean off the gold because it'll clean off the candy, but it's not going to affect the clear coat. Okay, right now we're coming back in with our second color, the Tealiscous. Okay, now we're going to cut in with some emerald green. Very in. Doing again the final clean with the 4011. You can see how much paint is on there, and just keep rotating. Once it's green, then I switch to a new one. Right now I'm just going to dust up a little the Maker Pro raw umber just into the crack, slightly dusted over this. And while you weren't looking, I snuck ahead and did this lower panel with the raw umber also. It's waiting for it to dry, and we'll probably speckle that down with a little bit of black. And then, because that's just like it's supposed to be a pad that's supporting the helmet, so I don't want to distract from the rest of the helmet, so I would just keep it simple. Yep, now I'm just going to put a quick base coat. Most of this is going to get covered, but I want glints of it showing through. So I'm using my emerald green. I'm going to leave the center part of that leg open because I'm going to hit that with some lemon yellow. So here we are, finally at the end of this project. The bug head, we'll just call it for short. And we've done the top, got some lemon yellow. All this started over a chrome finish, of course. And then we did emerald green, there's blues, there's teal, and then we got the yellow in the middle, gold, with other colors stamped into the top. The same thing on the legs, but we've come in with a lot of candy black to tone the legs down. Also used a magenta in this area and did that down here, but I wanted it to be different. So we added some purple into that, so that lower part's more of a purple. This is a chrome with blue and black over the top. And then the legs are done similar, but mostly hit with black with just a few glints of color coming through. The side, I imagine these are the wings. We've got chrome, green, teal, and ending with blue. I'm going to spin it around. And then the back part, I clear coated, but first we did the gold. Then we removed a lot of the gold so it has more of a mottled effect. Then added the blue, did basically the same thing. I don't know if you can see the modeling in there. Then cleared everything, and then we went back in with a blue just to highlight it. Not a candy, just to break it up a little bit. And then we got this is done in a raw umber with a little bit of black. It's supposed to be not that prominent of a thing because it's basically where the helmet sits on the shoulders. And the wings, like I said on the other side, matches with blue, teal, and green coming in from the beetle itself. And then this we just kept kind of nondescript, mainly the chrome. But we fogged in some black and then added a little bit of raw umber just to give it a little bit of color. And that is it. Hey, it's Mike Wowczuk. We're finally wrapping this guy up. Thanks for joining us. And always remember, the most important thing about this video is it's been your pleasure.